This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, thank you very much. Calling the meeting to order at this time. The time is now 7:05 p.m. I want to thank everyone for coming up for the Executive Committee meeting for Brooklyn Community Board 9. I am Fred Baptiste. I currently serve as chair of CB9, and we are going to jump right into the agenda. So the first agenda item is going to be committee chair check-ins. So we're going to be going around. I'm going to be asking the various chairs who are present to please give us reports for what's going on in your committee. I would ask, please, let's give an executive summary. Let's keep it under 2 minutes each one. That way we can go through all the reports and we can ask a couple of questions as well. We want to make sure we're able to keep going quickly through this. If there's information for, if there's information that's not pertinent, you can just leave that for information, for on the reports, and we'll be able to go through. So any major initiatives and any upcoming deadlines that we should be aware of as an executive committee. Okay, so we are going to begin with, I see the chair of public safety. Janelle, are you ready to give a report right now?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I will try to make this short. So, a couple of things that's happening in my committee. So we had 3 SLA applications. In our last committee, however, only 2 were present. One was absent. One of the things that we also, well, we were supposed to have a presentation from Alight Learners, but they unfortunately were able to attend. We did have to change the day of the public safety committee meeting due to a personal emergency that I had. So that's just something that I wanted to note. We also spoke about what the process is going to look like for reviewing the OCM applications. We sort of wanted, so we agreed upon mirroring it to how we review SLA applications currently, because we think that it's better for us to just have a very simple process because we know that it's a very complex and very new. So that's something that we also talked about. Then we also spoke about the fact that we're having 2 events that's coming up soon. Well, I shouldn't call it an event. I'll say it's an engagement with FDNY. So we're going to have a CPR training that we hope to have at Harry Silver, and that has been confirmed for December 5th from 2 to 3. We're just waiting, I guess, like to confirm the space with the actual apartment complex. And then we're also going to do a fire safety presentation from FDNY on December 17th from 12 to 1 o'clock. And that will be at Tivoli, and that will be on a Sunday.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you very much for that. Are there questions? I do have a couple of questions with regards to the events you have coming. We'll need to approve those as an executive committee and as a board as well, just to make sure that it's an officially sanctioned event for CB9. Okay. So we'll do that momentarily. Are there any questions for the public safety chair? Okay, hearing none. But I did hear you said there were 3 SLA applications. So yes. were all of those approved by the public safety committee?
Unfortunately, we did not have quorum. And then there were only 2 that were present. One was the representative was not in attendance.
Okay. We don't need to hear any of those applications this month, do we? Or can we push that to January?
I would like if we can push it to January.
Okay. Yeah, no, I would prefer to proceed with a vote from the committee. So if we can push to January, I think we'll do that. That's fine.
Okay.
All right. So I think the only thing that we'll do is when we get to the voting session, we'll just approve those 2 events. If there's any questions, maybe we'll just ask those real quick. But otherwise, I think those are good to do. Between the CPR training, you said it was December 5th from 2 to 3?
Yes.
And you said fire safety training with FDNY on December 17th?
Yes, from 12 to 1.
From 12 to 1. And those are both off-site locations. Okay.
Yes.
Dante, do you have any questions about that or any issues?
I've already spoke to Janelle. We're good.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah,
Thank you very
I just got a question, Janelle. Where are you going to have the CPR? Did you say Harry Silver?
Yes. So that is the plan. We are having, well, I hope that, the individual at Harry Silver is responsive to our emails. But the goal is to have it there. If they unfortunately do not get back to us, then we will just revert to having it at Tivoli or any other apartment complex that's within the area that's willing to accommodate us.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We're going to.
I just say
We'll,
I just say thank you too.
oh, okay, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. All right, let's go to Parks.
Yes, how's everyone?
Doing well, sir.
Yeah, well, we have a great meeting. We do not have any resolution to submit to the executive board for this particular meeting. What we have is a set of action items that we would like to cover. Hopefully by next month we'll have a resolution for each of them. I just want to point just a little bit of them. They're not that many. So what we're talking about is we want to start assisting community members to start Friends of Park Committee for the neighborhood parks. A couple of parks already have friends that support those parks. So we would like to see if we could get for almost every community parks information for that. And we're going to, there was a situation, there was a request, I think the Transportation Committee is asking about also the Ramsey Park to have a memorial bench for members of a community that passed away. It was a young person. And also we are working to get information to the DM regarding all the paperwork for the Union Street Garden paperwork that was promised to them 20 years ago by the MTA. I did see the blueprint from DDC and all that other information. We'll get that to them. And we want to say we'll have our next meeting in January at the Brooklyn Museum. One of the things they're interested in find out what happened to Wingate Phase 4 money and how can we get it back. And that's the expect of the action item. We're going to move on. I just want to report. So you could read the whole thing within our minutes that's already been submitted. So thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the chair of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs?
Not a question. I just want some clarification. Would the chair be able to send us a written report of this meeting so that he'd be going so fast? I want to make sure I get everything.
It will be in the minute for the general meeting. You'll have it. All that information is in there.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying to keep it short as much as I can.
Thank you very much.
Just one last thing. And you said your next meeting will be at the Brooklyn Museum?
In January.
Got it.
We're planning to have that. So we're talk to have the next meeting at the Brooklyn Museum because part of our meeting is the cultural institution liaison report. So they would like us to come in. So we will have the meeting there. So they will host us and then do all that stuff. So we'll get more information. That's for January, not December. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
And also, I just want to announce that due to death in the family, I know the Brooklyn wanted to present at the general meeting. They won't be able to do it until January also. So we don't have to worry about it. Put it in the agenda.
Okay. All right. No, let's just keep us posted in terms of that, and we'll try and see if we can make sure get them in to January. Okay, just make sure for the Brooklyn Museum for that committee meeting, just double check with Dante just because there's some requirements. We're going to need to be able to live stream that. And just to make sure that they can coordinate so that way they have staff on deck to support you as well.
Definitely, we'll do all that coordination of the DM.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see. I'm looking around for chairs. Debbie, I know you didn't meet for this month. Did you have anything you needed to say for EP, or you defer for this month? Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So we did not have a meeting given the early voting and election time frame in which I do work with the Board of Elections. However, we do have some ongoing issues in the community. I'm sure Dante received information because I always tell committee members that's the point of contact regardless of what takes place. I mean, if we meet once a month, there's no way we are going to get that information. So just pass it to the board office. We can talk about it at our monthly meeting. So there's some back and forth with the Bedford Sullivan project. But for the most, Councilmember Hudson's office is staying on top of it. And so that's a good thing. We all, been, updated on the information, and which is a good thing. And also Mr. Herbert is working tirelessly on the park vehicles in the community, and I think it's moving now. So, we've been, paying attention to details. I mean, I've walked by the Bedford Sullivan project during the early voting because I worked at the Armory. And I noticed I did take some pictures, certain things, the drain area and certain things that I saw. So I will definitely pass that information on. But for the most part, I think that things are moving along, and which is good. So that's all I have. We will be meeting in December, and we'll get an opportunity to discuss, some of those ongoing issues. That's all I have.
Okay, perfect. Are there any questions for the Chair of Environmental Protection, very quickly? Okay, seeing none, but thank you very much for that. And to your point, I think that's where it's important to also make sure that we're communicating with the district office.
Yes.
And I do want to make the plug. I want to say that CB9 has been staying on top of that as well in terms of communicating with the different agencies. So
yes.
So absolutely.
Okay.
I think this is an all hands on deck with this one. And I thank everyone for their roles with regard to staying on top of that issue. Okay, thank you very much. Let's see. I do see the chair of transportation is on. Ethan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Okay. All right. I think you just got on. You well, I'm going to throw you on the spot immediately. Do you have a report for transportation?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay.
This is moving along pretty well, but in our November meeting, we cleared a vote for some bike lanes in the district. So folks are pretty much wanting to move on bike lanes, on Kingston, on Brooklyn, on Empire, a few of those. So it's also been a pretty big push to get some of these to DOT and link them to previous requests that DOT had for a while now, just to kind of streamline things. And we also know that it helps when we can, like accompany things we've pushed through with, DOT previous feedback in the past. So we have that going on. That might most likely come to the general board for a discussion or for a vote. And we also passed through a street co-naming, but it looks like, although we voted for the co-naming, it looks like a lot of the people seem to also be in favor of a plaque instead, probably on the plaza. But yeah, we approved both of those. So I will, work with the board office to get that to you guys for the general. There's also a few issues like street safety, bike safety that we're tackling for a while now, and those are going along pretty well. We had an officer in the last meeting. People really appreciated that. So it was a pretty productive meeting, the November one. Similar to October. And just generally, apart from that, there's also been some tension around parking, like the vertical parking over at the Rogers Fire Station, but we'll tackle that in future meetings. So generally, we have a bike lane resolution coming up that we already had passed, I think, unanimously. And apart from that, there isn't much else. That in the street co-naming.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions for transportation? Okay, I don't hear any questions, but I do have a couple as well. Oh, I'm sorry. The hands flew up. Sorry. Okay. We will take Ms. Timothy. We will see Mr. Almanor, and I have a question as well. Are there any, before I close, are there any other questions for the Chair of Transportation? Okay, so we have Ms. Timothy, Mr. Almanor, and then I have a question. Ms. Timothy, go ahead.
So where is the street co-naming? What area?
It'll be at the corner of, I think, Empire and Washington, close to that cluster where the park begins, close to that Popeyes, that area over there.
What's the
And
stretch?
The stretch, let me pull it up. But the stretch, I believe it's on Empire, and it is between Washington and I'll just read a fact. I seem to have forgotten. I'll get it for you though.
Okay. Okay, yeah, because it's important to know, there's other people living in the community and, we never know what's going to happen down the road, So
Yeah,
we want to keep track of that. Okay, thank you.
I'll let you know what right now, but yeah, you're welcome. So
Can
yeah,
I ask? Can I ask?
it's
Oh,
the
sorry.
intersection of Washington and Empire Boulevard.
You gotta
Just a
cross
point.
Western Beef.
Yeah.
It's the Western Beef has the fence next to it. We thought that used to be in park, but we found it's in transportation. Is there any way this particular area will be transferred to Parks Department? Because we've been talking about this area in our committee for a while. We're thinking we should have planters to bring a lot of greenery all around the perimeter. People have been thinking about that, and we would like to work with the transportation committee to see if we'll get that done happen, since this particular area is under transportation. And also one suggestion is to also get the school across the street, the junior high school, the middle school across the street to help out into maintaining that area. I think this is something you and I can talk and see how can we develop a specific coaching program to get that done, not only to beautify it, to put some more green stuff in there, and make sure that it's maintained. So that's my question. Could you find out is this going to remain totally in transportation or will be transferred to park?
I would recommend we can speak about that. So, Mr. Almanor, Mr. Ethan, you and Dante and I, we can probably talk about that, because I guess what we're looking at is probably a public plaza. And
Yes.
there's a bunch of things that we would have to satisfy with that. One of them would have to be that there'd have to be some group, usually a not-for-profit, that says they're going to take care of maintaining that. So there might be, there might be some things we would have to take care of with that. Some conversations that have to just in terms of making sure that is something we can do, or to see if something that the school can handle, or if they're the appropriate partner, or if somebody else.
Yeah, I'll be willing to work with Parks together on something there for sure.
Sure. Well, yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just saying, let's talk about it. We can figure out where it breaks up and what responsibilities each committee would have with that. But definitely, I think it's something we can do. Now, I just wanted to also if Ethan, if you could also discuss the co-naming. Who is the person that is being co-named for? What's the circumstance? I just want to make sure the exec knows as well.
Okay. So it's a co-naming for Tiara Puyo. She is a student who died in that intersection during a juve a few years ago. And as a result of her death, some organizations and her family worked together to move juve to a later time. So there's a bit more sunlight. It's not just like dusk, because typically it's earlier, kind of like around break of dawn or before. They moved it a little bit further into the day, so that, I suppose, for security reasons, it's a little bit brighter. And they did some other things that helped result in a safer experience for people there now. So they're the mother of the victims looking to have the intersection of Empire Boulevard and Washington Avenue renamed as Tiara's Way, basically. That's the general background of it.
Okay. Could you tell me the name of the person again?
Tiara Puyo.
Could you tell me the name? Repeat the name of the person?
Yeah, Tiara Puyo.
How do you spell it?
Tiarah Puyau.
Okay, I think I remember. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right then. Okay, so is that something you voted on? So that was an action item from the committee,
Yes,
or?
Yeah.
All right, and you said, and there were some bike lanes that you voted on the committee that you wanted the board to consider?
Yes, there were some bike lanes that we voted on. So, I mean, in our district, a lot of the bike lanes that surround us don't enter CD9 at all. We have 3 that run east to west. We have 1 that runs north to south, and all the others essentially just end where our district begins. And we're looking to at least help us catch up a little bit in terms of bike safety, so that this isn't underserved when it comes to bike lanes. So we voted on continuing the bike lanes on Empire Boulevard toward Prospect Park. We voted to also improve the safety and actually make a full bike connection on Lincoln Road into Prospect Park, since it's a one-way connection and doesn't work very well for people going one of the directions. And it also doesn't help cyclists link into the bike lane on Maple either. It's generally like a little oasis of safety surrounded by a bunch of danger. So we wanted to make a few moves to make it a little bit safer to at least pass through that area.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I do want to put it out there, and we can discuss this a little bit as an exec. When I chaired transportation last year, the bike lanes was definitely a conversation we've had, and the district manager and I have had a conversation with the borough commission. One of the concerns that I have is I don't want to do a patchwork because that's what we have right now. We have a bike lane that leads into nowhere here, and you have another bike lane that, and it's just a patchwork that, that doesn't work. It doesn't serve the purpose of what these things are intended to be. So the ask we had done with the Brooklyn DOT was to actually do a study in the district to see what makes sense in the district. What avenues or what places make the most sense to have lanes. I think that, we definitely want to make sure we understand the toolkit in terms of, because I know the city is saying protected bike lanes in some places or in every place or to some extent. We want to make sure that we have an understanding of what the toolkit is and what is going to be appropriate in what places. So
yeah, and we did a lot of work for DOT actually. We created an entire bike lane plan with renderings of how the bike lanes would look. So far, Empire is the only boulevard wide enough for a protected bike lane. So we decided that one, we wouldn't, we'll only propose that for there. But apart from that, we also are looking to get marked bike lanes on Kingston and Brooklyn Avenue if possible.
And those are the only streets? I'm just curious in terms
those are the north to south bike lanes, Kingston and Brooklyn, because those are also streets that are wide enough for bike lanes having almost no feasible effect on the travel lane size. They have a lot of excess space, so that the drivers don't actually use. So apart from that, we did want to extend the bike lane on Ocean as well. That would be marked, not protected. The one in Empire we're considering as protected, and just making the one on Lincoln and the connection to Maple a bit more feasible to use.
And what about? Okay. No. I just say from the perspective of, I think that the ones you pointed out are probably the easier wins. They kind of make sense. But I also want to make sure that, I'd rather make sure that we're doing something strategic and comprehensive in the district. And we have a couple of asks out currently with DOT with respect to that. So the only thing we can discuss that. I may want to put a pin before we approve that, because I think we need to get DOT in there, and I think they need to be able to explain a little bit more holistically and give us a full picture of what options we have as a district. Because I'd rather we cut twice and do it once, as opposed to we start something, but we have lanes that go through. But again, I think then when they turn off into places where it's not, guided or it doesn't protect the bikers, then we still have some of the same problems on the east-west streets.
Yeah, and that's part of what we were taking into consideration. We figure that by doing some of DOT's work for them and by talking to them in their own language, it would make them take less time to get back to us. Because when we ask them for studies and for all these things, they take a while and they probably don't even get back to us at all, probably years down the line. But if we can give them like a half-baked or almost fully baked solution.
Well, and that's something we're working on.
Yeah, and they can easily reply with what they think should be changed or improved.
No, but absolutely, there's something we're working on. But I want to discuss that as well. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. But thank you very much for that. Ms. Westerdahl, did you have a question?
Oh, I just want to say hi. Thank you for the work on this. I wasn't aware that they were going to ask for a protected bike lane on Empire. That's really an area that needs support. So I totally support that. And I think that's just an extension of a lane that's already there. So having it protected would be wonderful. Going into the Prospect Park is basically where we're talking about, because the lane suddenly ends on Bedford, where that woman was killed on the bike. Emma, her name was. So, yeah. And the other areas, I was just wondering, the other bike lanes there, aren't they sort of already part of DOT's plan? And historically, DOT has not been getting back to people or coming or responding. So having the resolutions would be a big plus. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thank you, Ms. Westerdahl. Okay, let's see. I'm looking around. Are there any other committees that I haven't called on yet?
Are you going to answer the question now?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
Who's the question for?
The question was, isn't the DOT already planning those bike lanes? And isn't it true that they don't respond and show up?
Let me take the second one first. That's exactly an issue we're having about them responding and showing up, but I think we're trying to force an issue with this. We do need them to respond. We do need them to show up. This goes back to a conversation that the district manager and I have had actually with the borough commissioner in terms of we want to make sure we're doing comprehensive things in the district. Definitely, I've been a part of the transportation committee, and I understand the frustration that happens over there in terms of these things keep happening. But the one thing we want to make sure we're doing is, I don't believe in doing these things patchwork. Let us have a comprehensive plan for putting bike lanes that considers what's the mix we need in the district between protected bike lanes, between making sure that there are appropriate drop-offs where you're not just leaving bikes to fend for themselves. There's a bike lane that goes down Bedford, but if you turn on the wrong street, all of a sudden you're in no man's land.
No.
And especially when you talk about intersections like when you get to Flatbush and things of that nature in the district. The other piece of that is, I know something that has been a long-standing concern in the district is about speed humps and traffic control. That has been something that has been a pain point for us for a long time. And the conversation the DM and I had was, we wanted to do a comprehensive study of traffic in the district. So that way we kind of understand and we are able to use a full suite of things to kind of normalize traffic in the district. A lot of the times what happens is people who have requests for speed humps, they come back and they say, oh, by the way, we measure the traffic. Traffic goes 28 miles an hour in your district, so on that street, so there's no need for a speed hump. But the argument we've countered with is, we're not talking about the normal people who do 28 miles an hour. We're talking about the people who do 50. So I'm glad the average is 28, but we're talking about how do you take care of the people who, or how do you regulate the people who are doing 50 down there? It's not everyone, but there's enough people where it makes it a danger for the people in the district. But I guess to that point of it, that's one of the things that the district manager and I have been doing is we're trying to force that issue where he needs to come and speak to transportation. We were trying to get it to happen for next month. We're trying to see what we can do for happening as soon as possible, but this is a conversation that's way overdue. And there's some deliverables they need to do for the district in terms of those kinds of studies. And we need them to do them faster. We're not talking about what they're going to do next year. They need to put these on the board and they need to do them quickly. Mina, we'll see you, and then we're going to, well, actually, Mina, go ahead. We'll see.
One more thing, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Should I go first?
Go ahead, Ethan. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. There was a graphic that we had in our last meeting that I wanted to show you that would kind of clarify what some of the bike lane plans will look like. If I could screen share, I can show it to you. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So this is one of them. We're looking to extend Brooklyn and Kingston to Maple. As it's another bike lane, it would kind of, create more of an easy passageway through there. As of right now, every other bike lane, many of them seem to end. So I wanted to extend these two. Also wanted to extend, we did not vote on Washington, we did want to extend Empire down to Ocean and link into the park that over here on Lincoln, if that makes any sense. All right. And we also had a couple of renderings just for the people on the committee and, potentially for DOT that might work when it comes to Kingston, just illustrate how a bike lane would fit in if it's protected, not separate, but protected, and, the effect it would have on the lane size. instead of a 20.5 foot drive lane, you'd still have 16, which is pretty much more than enough for most large vehicles. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, and that's, let me just say that. This is one of those.
Did you make those renderings?
Yeah, Andrew and I made those.
That's awesome, man. I mean, congrats to you. That's some serious work right there. We love to see it. Well done.
Thank Andrew. A lot of it was his idea too.
I would like to have a fuller conversation. Could you bring that one back up?
Which one?
The rendering you just had before.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the only question I bring up, and this is not something that says no, but I want to make sure these are the questions we ask in terms of when you do that, in terms of we create the protected bike lane that removes that certain amount of real estate off the street. I always have concerns on the one-way streets because they become really narrow, and then all of a sudden, if you double park, it becomes a nightmare.
Yes.
Whereas sometimes the flexibility you have of when you have the bike lane, not optimal, but definitely you can move traffic around, and people can get around different obstacles and things that happen in the street. So that's the only reason why I hesitate, but that's the reason why I think that those are the questions where I would like to see what the full toolkit is that's available. We're able to pick and choose in terms of what's the best thing that happens on these streets.
Right.
Not to say I have an automatic aversion to the protected lanes, but there are, listen, especially after seeing Parkside Avenue, it's great if you're a biker, but if you're driving down there, you're going to slit your throat. And I think that there have been a couple of issues with that one as well. So I want to make sure that we're deliberate about it and we're able to weigh the balance of different choices in terms of what are we trying to accomplish and how do we get that done.
Agreed. And I think this would also help a lot in conversation with DOT too, since we can show something like this and say, well, what could we do here that would make it less of a difficulty for drivers in cases of double parking and stuff like that, so that we kind of get a bit of the best of both worlds, if it's possible, because DOT would have, the expertise to let us know what's doable and what's not doable and stuff like that, and this would help them know where we're coming from.
Okay, no, perfect. Okay, thank you very much, Mina. I'm sorry we had set you off. Go ahead. You got a question?
Sorry.
Well, I think I had a comment because I just think of Kingston Avenue as being always very congested, and because of the double parking on Kingston Avenue, I just think that maybe, even though it is a wide street, but I always see double parking there and the buses trying to get by. And that's the comment. And my other question is, as far as the renderings for which way the bike lanes are going or extending the bike lanes, do we have an idea of how many city bike locations are in those areas? And are we looking to see how close the city bike locations are to where the bike lanes would be? Because
then they take the space.
If people are cycling.
Yeah, we did look into that, and yeah, there are quite a few city bikes in the area. There are, there are some close to New York and Empire. There are a few in the area, but apart from that, the biggest concern we had regarding where we wanted to extend was just around compatibility with other districts around us, because people frequently will be biking down Brooklyn or Kingston, and they just meet a dead end, and there's suddenly almost nowhere for you to go. So we were trying to remove that type of problem to an extent. But we also did double check to know that there are city bike locations in around those streets, and in some cases on those streets. There's a city bike coming to Kingston soon, I believe. It's actually one on Kingston and East New York Avenue. Yeah, close to the Family Dollar area right there on the sidewalk. So there are a few, and I assume they may be putting down a couple more in the future. Hopefully not too many where it's oversaturated, but yeah, we wanted to make sure that things were just in places that had common sense and made, I guess, ease of life a bit more of a common thing in these areas. And a big part of that was the bike location, as well as pass-through capability, so you don't get stuck on a dead-end bike lane.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And I want to thank your committee for all the work that you're putting into this. Absolutely. I know this there's definitely been a frustrating aspect of the board in terms of transportation and the different changes that happen and how do we improve safety and make sure that bikes are integrated as part of the mode of operation, but at the same time, we're able to harmonize the different ways of getting around between walking, cars, buses, and everything else. And that's why, I tend to have, I tend to push towards, let's have a comprehensive conversation, because none of these things exist in a vacuum. So we can't talk about bikes without talking about speed and safety, and we can't talk about, where the bike lanes go, and without talking about the pushback with cars and everything else. Those are the things that we need to have, and we need to make sure that DOT is looking at them holistically as well. But again, thanks for everything, and let's continue to have these conversations, and we'll push to see where we go with this. Okay. All right. All right. Are there any other chairs that I did not call? And I apologize in advance if I haven't. I see Linda Watson-Lord. Yes.
Yes. Are you? Hold a bit. I'm bringing up my little report here. Okay. I'm talking about the youth services. Okay. We did meet. We had a fantastic meeting, very long. We had three presenters. One was the guest speaker from the Jackie Robinson School and the Ebbets School joined. There was a gentleman, his name was Darius Nazario. He's from Ebbets Field School, and he really did a good presentation on an upcoming youth forum they have on Block Party. It will be next year on May 16th. And so we did not make any commitments, but we did say that we will reach out to him and we would, give him any assistance that he would need for the youth forum. The principal of Jackie Robinson, she did come, and her main thing was that she was asking for some support for kids that has English as a second language. She was looking and wondering if we, not necessarily the community board, but if our community as a whole could help provide translators, could help even clothing and stuff, because she says that, the Spanish speaking parents, they do not attend because they do not, feel comfortable. So she's just reaching out to the community so that we too would join and help make a better turnover with those people. Then we talked about revisiting the clothing drive. Coming out of that was that one of our community members, John Beckles, he works downtown and his office does a lot of this stuff, and they really need, he says, sometimes he get young kids coming for the court system, they don't have a coat, and he feels so bad that they always try to help. So maybe if we move towards an official court drive from our committee in relation to his job, it would help. So we will come back to Dante with a conversation on that, because we will be looking for a space to have an initial home for drop off, but John is willing to collect maybe every day. So that's things that we look at. We also look at sometimes partnering with the Parks Committee so that we could look at the maintenance of the community gardens. So we will be really, for the next year, putting stuff in place, and we will put together an agenda. And also keeping in mind that our community fair is really one of our big commitments as a committee in CB9. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for the report. Are there any questions with respect to the Committee for Youth Services Education? Call for a second time. Any questions?
I just have one quick question. That's the group that combined with the other group, right?
Yes.
Combined? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just checking.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And Ms. Watson-Lord, there are no action items for this month, correct?
Not at this month, please. No.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. Okay. All right then. So I believe that completes the committee reports. So now from there, I see we have 2 events we need to confirm for public safety for the CPR training on December 5th, the fire safety training on December 17th. No resolutions from Parks, nothing from EP. Transportation, you have the street co-naming, correct? Is Ethan there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so I have the street co-naming. That's an item that we're going to vote on. You do have the resolution for the bikes, but let's discuss that one. That one, I think we may want the table, just pending some other conversations that I think should be had.
No. Why would you table it? The committee voted on it.
Because there are other conversations that may be had. Thank you very much, Ms. Westerdahl.
Also,
we
quick
will
note.
discuss that if we're going to table.
Also,
We'll
want to discuss the co-naming as well. That's okay with you.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?
I wanted to also discuss the co-naming too. Before we.
No, the co-naming I have. The co-naming I have is an action item, so we can see if that's going to go on the agenda for the month. Okay. We'll discuss it when we get to the business session about the bike lanes, if it's something we're going to put forward, or perhaps we hold off to table that just so we can have some conversations, because we're trying to get that together with DOT. And I think it might be helpful in terms of expanding that, beyond the work that you've done as well. Okay. All right. Alrighty then. Okay. So we are now going to go on to the next item of the agenda. That will be the district manager's report.
Good. Hands already up. Good evening, everyone. All right, on November 7th at 10:05 a.m., there was a structural fire that occurred at 21 Miami Court, which is a private dwelling. There were no civilian casualties at that fire. Just wanted to note that. Also, another fire in the district on the 13th at 8:25 p.m. Also, another structural fire occurred at 437 Rogers Avenue. That fire also had no civilian casualties. Notification for the community: a contractor will be fully closing the roadway to facilitate concrete and booming operations at 408 Hawthorne Street between New York and Brooklyn Avenues, starting November 20th. I believe that the permit they're able to do the work between November 20th and December 20th, I believe. So that notification will be in the e-blast for the community. Community board applications are active, are live for folks who need to renew. They went live on November 15th. The deadline to apply is going to be February 19th. Applications can be filled out online and by paper. The online link and the paper application is in our news section on our website. So anyone that you know who is interested in applying new or needs to renew, you can direct them to the news section of our website. Every board member who is up for renewal should have received an email directly from Borough Hall, because that's what they said that they were going to do. But we will send out information again regarding the application, just to make sure folks are aware that the application is live. And that will, of course, be in our e-blast as well. The Empire State Development has scheduled a virtual public hearing on the 30th of November from 6 to 8 p.m. for the draft EIS, Environmental Impact Statement for Kingsborough Psychiatric Vital Brooklyn. That notice has been in the e-blast, and we will leave it in the e-blast so the community is informed. If they click it on the e-blast, it'll take them right to the website where they can get the EIS as well. The Department of Transportation has scheduled a public hearing for November 20th for the draft version of the rules for the outdoor dining program. Folks can visit nyc.gov/dining out for more information. That notification will also be in our e-blast for the community as well. The 2023 Prospect Park Survey is also live. It will close on Friday, December 1st. You can take the survey and enter to win a $100 gift card. The survey is also available in Haitian and Haitian Creole and Spanish. The survey will also be in the e-blast for the community. Participatory budgeting through the New York City Council. live. Our council members, Joseph and Hudson, are participating this year in participatory budgeting again. So definitely want to direct people to share their ideas. You can submit an idea by visiting the participatory budgeting webpage. We will also include a flyer that will link right to the website in the e-blast for the community. The Department of Environmental Protection will be holding a virtual workshop on Green Infrastructure Grant Program. That workshop will be Wednesday, December 6th from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Attendees will learn about funding available for green roof retrofits and private property eligibility requirements. That also will be in our e-blast, so folks can go there, click, and it will take them right to the website for more information. This had come up, and I just wanted to note it for the exec. I think it's at New York and Empire. OTI informed me that that is not going to be a Link 5G tower. It is just an attachment to an existing pole. Cellular network use is supported by that attachment citywide. Any new Link 5G sites going forward that will be proposed will we'll have a 40-day comment period. So it will come before the board if they do propose those. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone on exec knew that. The New York City Department of Sanitation announced that in observance of Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 23rd, there will be no trash, curbside composting, nor recycling collection on the holiday. So anyone that you know, please let them know. We'll put, I'll create something and put it in the e-blast. But again, no trash, no curbside composting, nor recycling on Thanksgiving. New schedule for the Department of Building After Hours program. DOB borough offices will be open the first and third Tuesdays of the month from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. for staff to answer questions and to provide information to homeowners, tenants, building managers, and small business owners. Let's see. Next, you all may have already seen this. The comptroller produced a fair share report on NYC's municipal facilities. That will also be in our e-blast. It will give you a sense of essentially what facilities do we not have, which ones are we taking the burden on with. That will be in the e-blast, so please connect people to that as well. I do know that there is an upcoming race in our district, I believe sometime in December. Once I'll reach out to the organization to get the site map and all the details. We will make sure that that gets put in the e-blast when we get the information, but just wanted to note it for exec that that's coming. And then the last thing I think that I have is, just give me 1 second, is just a brief update on here. Here we go. Okay, so just a brief update. As of today, this is about Bedford Avenue and Sullivan. Emergency contractor has completed backfilling. Concrete's base was also poured and asphalt was laid today. Let's see. They also mentioned that back on last week that this project would take approximately a month for completion. So we should be seeing this go into December, the second week of December. But DEP is going to check with their emergency construction crew to see if that has changed. So maybe it will be finished before December, but timeline is looking at the 2nd of December. I will continue to reach out for updates from DEP, just to note that all the elected officials in this area who cover that specific intersection are the elected officials plus the community board were on the same email thread. So we're all informed, all the agencies are informed, and we're staying on top of it. And that's the finality of my report.
Okay, Dante, if you could you give a little bit of background on the situation in Bedford Sullivan? Because I know that there's been a lot of talk about it, but I just want to make sure that all the executives on the same page in terms of what the history is and where we are now.
Okay, give me 1 second.
All right, while the district manager is doing that, I'll start the speakers list, or if there's questions for the DM. Ms. Westerdahl, do you have a question for the DM?
Yes.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I'll put your name down. All right, does anyone else have a question for the DM?
Okay. All right, so I think this was the first message back on the 29th. DEP had informed me that, and other elected officials and the elected officials, that the sewer maintenance uncovered a 40 by 60 broken sewer at that intersection. Let's see, at the time they said there was no damage to the roadway. The area had been barricaded off, so it was a broken sewer. DEP has kept us informed almost like every day. At that site, emergency construction had taken over. That construction went on for a couple of days, continued to monitor it to let us know exactly what was happening there. Looking through my emails, it looks like emergency construction was on location and they were setting up bypass pumping and awaiting instructions from Con Edison due to the damaged lines and primary cables in the collapsed area. So Con Edison also, utilities are also on the thread as well. So my understanding, it was a sewage pipe that had burst and that led into other things being damaged. Again, all of the appropriate agencies have been on a thread along with the elected officials. And so, we'll continue to monitor the situation. I've been by the location when concerns came up. It looks like there are signs there directing people where to go, where to walk. I also saw a couple of flagmen down there assisting people crossing the street. So, if you see any person having any issues with the location, just reach out and we'll reach out to DEP so they can get in contact with the contractor immediately. But at this time, all of the relevant agencies are informed of the matter. And it will, again, as I mentioned, last likely into the second week of December.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, we will take questions. Ms. Westerdahl, I do see you have your hand.
Okay, with the situation on Sullivan and Bedford, it would be really helpful if all that information Dante were getting that he'd forward to Block Association President Nicola Cox and I guess the people at Ebbets Field, because people don't really know totally what's going on. I go down there.
What people at Ebbets Field?
Any people at Ebbets Field. I don't know what your contacts are there. I mainly see people outside. I don't, have a contact, but it would be, I'm sure you must have one there. Because they have, they're dealing with a lot more of the sewage smell and the danger there. So, and I know Richard would like.
Someone at Ebbets Field told you this?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure. Continue.
So that would be helpful.
Yeah, because we haven't received any complaints regarding the smell from anyone at Ebbets Field. So if they're telling you that, if you know who that person is, could you have them reach out to the board office so we can connect with them?
Sure.
Since they made the complaint to you.
These are older ladies that I see at the church and on the corner, that are outside.
Do they happen? Okay, so a random person made a comment to you about the smell.
Not a random. Well, I guess you could call it a random person, the people that live in the building that are on the street. It's mostly elderly ladies that are trying to cross to go to the church for the food drive that they have. And people that live, I walk there every day. But anyway, they had another collapse today, and it's a sewer main that collapsed, and there's also that other collapse that happened in front of McDonald's. So they had an additional collapse today. They were they were really kind of finishing up, and I was hopeful. And then they told me today there was another collapse that they found closer up Bedford, but still off of Sullivan. And they're going to open some of it for the holiday, and then they're going to have to close it off again to do these other repairs. So it's pretty major repair, and I believe it's caused. I know we have a lot of complaints, and then I was asking Dante for a list of like 311. I have a sort of a list of complaints that were made about the street, the sidewalk splitting, the cracking in the middle of the road, the potholes, and the sidewalk damage. Like FDNY did come and shut them down at one point, and they were supposed to take care of it. That's public record. You can see it on the BIS. So yeah, so that's a concern that I would hope that we could find a way to not have that happen again. It seemed like city agencies, if they would have dealt with it differently, that wouldn't have happened. And I think other people can learn from this problem and not have it happen. But anyway, the other thing was that I really wanted to ask about was I've sent, the resolution about the bed count, and I know the controller's Brad Lander's report came out, and we're still missing some information. And I was hoping to handle that all administratively and have all of that information that everybody wants in the community about the counts of all the different types of housing beds that are here and that will potentially be here, because it doesn't seem like it's totally correct on the controller's report on those maps. I was trying to look at it, but other people are more informed than me, and I hope you, Dante, could help with that, and anybody else, so we could get a real count of what's happening and have a real idea of what's happening in our district with the housing and the beds and what type of housing it is. So can you help me with that? Like what's happening, please?
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, thank you for sending over the motion so I have the information, because I want to make sure that the appropriate agencies that need to handle it get the questions that you're asking. I also did review the comptroller's report that you're talking about, and I also did see that indiscrepancy as well. So right now, waiting for DHS to provide that report. I think that some of the information also I looked today may be on open data. You just have to find the right data set. But if the agency can just provide it, then I'll forward that out to the folks who requested it.
Well, I sent you a lot of emails, so I because I was trying to follow up. So I hope that I was clear and that we're on the same boat now, so to speak. I just want to have it right before the board meeting, like I just want to have all the information we can get.
Yeah, actually, I just want to interject for a quick second. And I know that this is something that had come up at the end of the last meeting. This is an item that we were looking into. What exactly is the information we're trying to get, and who is the information being requested for? Just to make sure I'm clear.
Well, the information is for the entire board and the whole community. I think, I have concerns. My neighborhood has. I think everybody has concerns for this. This is like information we all want to know, and I think people that are dealing with Vital Brooklyn, especially in East Flatbush, they what's the bed count basically there? What housing do we have in our district? Like some of it we don't know, and I believe that the maps, like Dante said, it's not correct. It's incorrect. The information of what we see happening, what we know is happening, does not match what is on the report. So the report just came out, so it's difficult to, it's a lot of housing. So does that make sense?
It does. I mean, the only thing is I just want to make sure that we're clear as well in terms of the process for the board office requesting information. The board office absolutely has the ability to make requests for that information, but when we make those requests, it should be because there is work that the board is doing or that the committee is doing in terms of doing that research. So it makes sense. So if housing wants to know how many rent control units are in there because they're working on a resolution to try and for the board to provide direction in terms of what services we need, makes sense. Housing would pass a resolution saying, or pass a motion saying, listen, we need this because we're working on this project, we need this information. But it should be something, I think.
The resolution that the board would handle it administratively. So let's do that.
No. What I'm saying is it's something that the board can handle administratively, absolutely. But what I also want to be clear about is too, it's like we can't just say, listen, we need information X, Y, Z, because that taxes the resource of the board office. Because everyone has the ability to ask for this information from any agency they wish. There's a freedom of information law. Anyone can do that. I want to make sure that we're using our resource, the board office, judiciously in terms of if there's real work being done by a committee, absolutely. Let that go through that process, identify what information is necessary that they need to get, and the board office can definitely take care of that. I just want to make sure that we're not doing these FOIL requests, that aren't necessarily to further work that is actively being done by a committee of the board.
Wait, are you telling me I have to file a FOIL request for this information from you? A FOIL request you want?
I'm saying that normally people would file a FOIL request unless it's something that the committee is working. Is there a committee actively working on this?
Meeting. Why are you telling me that now? I would have filed one already.
Because you told us this at the end of the last meeting. 5 minutes ago, we're getting ready to get kicked out. So I said, okay, no problem. We can handle this administratively. The DM is asking questions about this. I'm asking questions just because I didn't fully understand that either. That's part of the reason why I said we should table that. Dante, I think you've already put in a request, so I think go ahead and continue with that. But I want to make sure that we're clear. Requests for information should be coming as part of a board action or committee action. That's really the only thing I'm saying with that. Dante will continue to handle that, and he's processing, and we get that as soon as we can. But on an over forward basis, it's support, we do those requests to forward work that committees are doing. Okay, Mr. Herbert, I did see your hand, I'm sorry.
Good evening, everyone, good evening. Okay, so just to clarify, just to follow up on what Tara was saying, well, first of all, I read the audit as well, and it was very inaccurate, as far as the information and data gathering. All right, so there are multiple parts that are here. One of the things is, and we voiced this in other meetings, I believe in the housing meeting at one point, or the ULURP, I can't recall. If you take a look at the existing police response from the 71st precinct, there was an audit that was done as far as response times, and the 71st precinct falls way below the standard. And what the concern was, if they fall below the standard and we have these complexes that are being built in so many beds, all right, how does that affect the safety in addition to the existing beds that we have? All right, and the existing beds from both city facilities and private facilities. All right, so, and all this information that's gathered, and it can say that, hey, the police department needs additional resources, right? The fire department needs additional resources. The city has to provide additional resources for this location. With an incorrect audit, we really don't know what services are needed for the area, if that is the case. So the audit was grossly inaccurate. It should be voided and done all over again, in my opinion. But to me, it's worthless because it really does not give a picture of what is to come and what we have now. And I think that is the importance.
Okay. No, and I don't think there's any disagreement with that. One of the responsibilities is to make sure that we are advocating for our fair share of services. If police response times are inadequate, no, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely something that is the role and the purview of the board, and we should be acting on those and jumping on those. Right. And I guess, yeah, no, we're not disagreeing. I'm just saying is whatever request we're making is just as a part of that inquiry from a committee. So absolutely, if either public safety or, or housing or any of the other ones want to do that, where there's an inquiry for that, because we're trying to develop policy with that, or even more so because we are coming up on budget season, so perhaps we should be making more asks. Or we should be making inquiries. Either they give more money or they need to do better with what the money they do have and make sure that the response times comes down. But that's something that's part of the board's, yeah.
I agree with you 100%. Absolutely. And also, the biggest thing is, the audit was supposed to identify, fair share. Okay. Who is getting their fair share? If the numbers are not correct, then the outcome will not be correct. So there still will be, in my opinion, based on the information we have, an imbalance. All right. So in order to get the proper balance, everybody gets their fair share, the audit should reflect the proper numbers and the proper beds. And that is the reason for the bed count. Right? Because there is a big contradiction between fair share and the information that we have as far as the bed count. It just doesn't add up.
Understood. Okay. No, but thank you for that. We're in agreement. We're in agreement. Okay. All right. Last call. Any questions to the DM? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you very much. We are now going to go into the chair's report. I have a few items I want to do. I think a couple of them were covered by the district manager, but I'm going to try and go through some of these as well. All right. Wanted to give a few updates. I think it's important to know that this board and our office are very active, and we're present and represented in the community. I wanted to say thank you to Dante and also to this veterans organization that I'm going to butcher the name. I'll make sure I have it for the board report. But we were a part of the Brooklyn Veterans Appreciation Parade. First one happened on Eastern Parkway on October 28th. Small but proud group of veterans. I think it's very important that that we were a part of that. I'm very proud of the fact that we were a part of that as well. I actually donned some military gear and marched as part of that. But I think it's a focus that we definitely want to be a part of as we continue in the district. I look forward to hopefully be continuing with this next year. And I do want the board to look forward in terms of integrating veterans advocacy and providing access to resources to veterans in various ways in the district, in the board. I know there are other boards who actually have Veterans Affairs committees. I want it to be something that we look at in terms of what's the best way the board is able to adopt that, whether it be through a committee or a subcommittee, or if we do a special commission. But I think it's something that we should, especially as we do have a significant population within the district. And there are definitely a number of resources that sometimes people don't need to suffer or they don't need to lack because there are resources out there due to the fact that they serve. On October 28th as well, I wanted to note that there was a memorial service for Dwayne Joseph, a longtime friend of the district. He passed away this summer. Truly a loss to Brooklyn. He was a giant of a man. He was definitely a warrior. He was in the trenches, always working for community. We were able to go there. So I was there. The district office staff was there to pay our respects. And it was truly a great memorial, and it was a charge for us to continue on in terms of being of service to this district. I also wanted to discuss very briefly, we did participate. We helped co-sponsor the Vital Brooklyn Town Hall in conjunction with Assemblymember Brian Cunningham, along with a couple of other community boards as well. I believe CV17 and CV14 were also a part of that as well. An important conversation. I know it's been a very, very significant conversation in the board. As a board, because this is a state project, we have really been on the sidelines of that. But absolutely, there are a lot of questions that have been brought up with respect to the project and its future impacts on the district. So that town hall was held on the 5th of November at the St. Louverture School. But I think that one of the things that we've discussed, or I've discussed with some of my colleagues, is that I think there are still some questions that need to be answered and still some more dialogue that needs to be had. So we are working with the Assembly Member's Office, and along with Community Board 17, we're trying to see if we can have another such dialogue where we can continue the conversation. I think there were a lot of questions that were left over that were not answered, and I think there's a lot of feedback that we wanted to make sure went back to the state as they proceed with this project. Additionally, I want to make clear that as well as we need to make sure that we confirm all the commitments toward this project that are going to be required. So they did say that there's going to be security. They said there's going to be in the building. They said in the public spaces, there's going to be security. They also said that there's going to be public spaces and venues that the community is supposed to have access to. They said that there are services that are supposed to be provided for those who are in the shelter, in the shelters or in supported living situations. We want to make sure that as a board, after the construction is done and after the dust is settled, that we have that direct connection with the appropriate agencies to make sure what is promised is delivered. And just as well, we want to make sure as this process is going, that we mitigate to the greatest extent possible the impacts on the community, whether it be environmental, if it's dust, if it's traffic, if it's whatever it is. And we're asking the pertinent questions in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of how this is going to be placed in the community, so that way it is in harmony with, not an obstacle or a hindrance to this community as well. So we're working on further dialogue to see how we can get that done, and we will give our updates as we go forward. Pardon me 1 second. Also have an update with the City of Yes, Economic Opportunity. So we did some outreach, Community Board 9, we did sign off on a letter saying that this was definitely a very tight timeline in terms of the expectations of when they wanted the community boards to actually respond to the text amendments that are proposed. So we did receive a response back. Not quite the response I want, but it does give us a little bit more leeway in the sense that basically the city planning, Department of City Planning has said that they will accept commentary from all boards, and it will be considered by city planning all the way up until the City Planning Commission hearing, which is scheduled in February. So I think we were looking at a little bit tighter time frame, which we definitely thought was unfair, and especially given the amount of things that we have to go through and consider. So we do have a little bit of leeway with that. We have that extension until February. So we're going to continue to have those conversations in terms of what we see as the impacts for economic opportunity, and what we think needs to be changed or modified in terms of the proposals that have been put forth. And I want to be clear as well, we're going to be working a lot with this, because I think right after economic opportunity, then we have one last one, I believe, it's housing opportunity. Is that correct, Dante?
That's correct.
So with housing opportunity, we are going to be working on both of those over the next few months. So we expect that there will be a recommendation that comes out of that subcommittee, which was established 2 months ago, before February, so that we can make sure that economic opportunity is addressed, as well as making sure that we are in a mode of working to review the housing opportunity text amendments as well. The district manager had already noted that the community board applications are open. So per the charter, half the seats are up on every year. So every other year, board members have to reapply. So members should be getting notices that your application, that your term is getting ready to expire. Please make sure you are proactive. If you are not sure, if you haven't received something that you think you may need, please make sure you contact the board office or contact Borough Hall to confirm when the end of your term date is. We want to make sure that there is not a situation where you didn't get notified or you missed an email, you didn't get one, and your term expires and you're not reappointed to the board when you should have had an opportunity to come back on the board. So again, I believe it should be open. The date I heard was as of November 30th. I would probably give it until about that time. If you haven't received an email by then, please make sure you're following up the check. And again, that application is going to be due by February 19th. One of the things we are going to do as a board, we've done it in the last couple of years, we're looking to have an open house. That open house is an opportunity to talk about board service. It talks about the different things we do. It talks about specifically what we've done here at CB9, and it gives hopefully members of the public, prospective members who might be interested in joining the community board, an opportunity to ask questions and see what things are like on the board as well. I would recommend, especially for you as chairs here, if you have members, hardworking members of your committees who are resident members, but you think really would have, would really be able to offer some great things to the board, please encourage them to apply to the board as well. Part of what we'll discuss as well is that there are a couple of avenues for applying. Either you can apply for an appointment directly from Borough Hall, or you can apply for a seat that might be vacant through your local council member. Our council members have the ability to nominate for seats. So if you particularly have a relationship with a council member, you may choose to go that route and see if you can get a council appointment versus going through the general pool of Borough Hall. But these are details that we'll discuss as well as we go along. All right, two things with relation to committees. One, I want to make sure that everyone is on board with this. As we can see, our committee schedules for this month and our general board and executive meeting have been all jumbled. Because of the holiday season, we try and get all of our committee meetings in earlier, and we try and expedite that so that way we try and avoid bumping too hard with the holidays. We are going to see a similar situation in December. So I would ask for all the chairs to please make sure you are communicating with your members that the meeting schedule may not be on the date you normally meet. It could be a different date. Please make sure if you to confirm with the district office if there are any conflicts with your dates or if there's any moves that need to be made, so that way we can make sure that we're recording those, we're posting those accurately on our calendars and on the weekly blasts, and we can give appropriate notice to the community that when the December meetings are happening. So that typically, especially for the newer members, that usually ends up being the beginning half of the year, because of religious observances and holidays. September, October, November, and December tend to be off. But we'll be on a much more regular schedule in terms of when we come back to order in January. Usually the committee dates end up being pretty much in line with what we usually do. But again, please make sure that we're all monitoring the calendars. Please make sure if you get a notice, RSVP. What the district office is doing is they are trying to send these as calendar appointments. Please, let's try and make sure you send the word to everyone when you get the calendar appointments to please accept. Accept it so that way it pops up on your calendar and you know when they're coming up. Or if you see that there's a conflict automatically, we can have conversations sooner rather than later, as opposed to, you get a naughty mark next to your name if you're not there. All right. And along the lines of that as well, I did want to speak very briefly about attendance and committee membership. So we are now at November. We are almost halfway through the year, very, very soon. So one of the things I wanted to ask all the committee chairs to do is please make sure you start reviewing your attendance for the last few months. And if you have members who are having issues with attendance, please let the district office know so that way we can start having conversations. It's unfortunate when we don't have quorum, because that means as a committee, you weren't able to do the things you need to do. And that affects the board and affects our responsibility to the community at large. So please make sure you're identifying if there are members, board members, or resident members who are not showing up. Let the district office know so we can have the appropriate conversation. All right, I believe that is all I have at this time. I do not have any action items for this month, but I will take questions. All right, Ms. Westerdahl, I see you. Hold on, let's just see. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Westerdahl, yes, your question.
Yeah, hi. A couple of things. First, I would like to see a treasury report at the next meeting. And I also want to bring up the topic again about the non-for-profit Friends of CB9. I did some further research, and in fact, the address that the not-for-profit is using is the same as the district office. And you said they're not related, but I just am concerned about impropriety, and us, the board, being held responsible. I don't know how much money was in that. Christian LeBeau, the past treasurer, reported on that. Like, he helped move the non-for-profit from the old district. The old district manager had that in her name, and then it was moved to Warren Burke's name, and now he's left. And how much money was in that? What happened to? I think we should know all these things, since it's Friends of CB9 and they're using the district office. I'm just very concerned, and I want to bring it up again, and I want it talked about, and I hope the treasurer can report on it. And I just like to know about what's in the treasury, what we have to spend, I just want to know. I like to know that stuff. And the other thing that I'm concerned about too is there was this lawsuit is that for the whole board? Like, what's going on with that? I really want to do things correctly, so I don't want to be involved in any lawsuits. Like, what's happening with that? I heard it was for the whole board, but I didn't see anything just at the meeting. So can you explain that to me, please?
Sure. Let's go. All right. So with respect to the treasurer's report, last month the treasurer was going to give a report, but she had an emergency and was not able to attend. Mina, I think you'll be able to give the report this month, correct? Okay. So we'll make sure. I think the report was actually provided for informational purposes, but the treasurer will be able to speak to that this month as well. So we'll make that entry and we'll make sure we add that as part of the agenda. I'm going to reiterate the point about Friends of CB9, two totally different entities. There is Brooklyn, okay, and that is a mailing address. That is all it is. They just receive mail there. But otherwise, two totally separate entities. None of the monies commingle. CB9 is a city-funded agency and with city-funded dollars, and that's that. Friends of CB9 is a private entity built to support that. There is no money that has been raised for that at this time, and there is no relationship.
There was. Warren said that we already had a donation. He said that publicly in a meeting that there was a donation.
That was from last year. That was from last year. And that, well, hold on. And Warren said, okay, listen, Ms. Westernall, let me make it very clear. Friends of CB9 is not CB9. So we are not discussing that.
So why was our last treasurer involved in it? You know, it's just, I don't want any impropriety. I'm really concerned about it.
And there is none, and there is no commingling, and there is nothing that CB9 or Friends of CB9 has to do with each other. It is something that is built to support CB9. It is not there yet. There is work that is being done in terms of trying to make sure that it is an entity that is going to be able to support CB9. But they are totally separate and apart.
So it belongs to Warren, who's using the.
It doesn't belong to Warren. It does not belong to Warren.
It says it's his name.
Ms. Westernall. I'm sure his name is on there, but you know what? It's not CB9. And we're going to leave it at that. Thank you very much. Now, but going to your last point with respect to the lawsuit. So last month we were served. Brooklyn CB9 was named as a respondent, as well as members of the board as well. That matter has been referred to Corporation Counsel, and they are in the process of drafting the response for that. And that is going to go through the legal system at this point. As it's current litigation, we are probably going to refrain from giving any comment, as that's something that's going to be discussed by the lawyers, our lawyers with the complainants as well. So as there's anything to report with respect to that, we'll make a report, but at this time, there's no comment. Okay. All right. Okay.
You.
You're welcome. All right. So we are now going to go on to, pardon me. Okay. We're going to go to the agenda. We're going to go to set the agenda at this time. All right. Well, actually, before we do that, let's do this. There were a couple of items that, action items that were coming up from the committees. So let's just confirm which ones we are going to be hearing, that we're going to vote on in the board meeting. So for public safety, I saw that there were two items, one for CPR training and one for fire safety. So one was on 12/5 and one was on 12/17. So the committee chair stated that she had a conversation along with the district manager already. The district office is able to support. I think this is just a good thing for us to do. Let me ask this, for the members of the exec who are currently present. Actually, let's do this. Madam Secretary, can you take an attendance? Can you call the roll for the exec members?
Yes. Fred Baptiste.
Present.
Primo Lozana.
Present. Sorry about that.
Okay. Francisco Leopold. Linda Watson Lord, present. Mina Legote.
Present.
Dexter Roberts.
Present.
And Nicholas Almanar.
Present here.
Mr. Chair, of 7 of us, hold on. Out of 7 of us, 6 are present, 1 is absent.
Okay, thank you very much. Confirmed, we currently have a quorum. All right, so to the members of the exec who are the voting members here, is there any objection, passed by common consent, moving these 2 items for public safety, those to the full board for consideration and approval?
No, so moved.
Okay. All right. So by common consent, we're going to move those 2 items. Those will be voted on at the general board meeting. The next one I had was street co-naming for transportation. So All right, so this is a street co-naming. This is on the intersection of Washington and Empire Boulevard. Is that correct, Ethan?
That's correct.
Okay, so now this was approved by the Transportation Committee, correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right. Is there any objection by the exec for moving this to the full board by common consent? Or is there any questions? If you have any questions, let's discuss it. Okay, call for a second time. Any objection to moving the street co-naming of Washington and Empire Boulevard to Tiana? Is it Tiara or Tiana? Tiana Pollo Way?
It's Tiara.
Tiara Pollo. Okay. All right. Hearing none, hearing no objection, we'll move that item as well. So that'll be the other business item we'll move. All right. I did hear, so Ethan, I know your committee had voted on bike lanes for that. Do you have an objection for us tabling that? Because I think there's some conversations we would want to have just to augment this. Do you have any objections?
Well, honestly, I'd like to know a bit more about what conversations we would want to have first.
We're actively trying to get the borough commissioner to come and talk to us because I think that there's some information that he needs to give to your committee. There's a conversation that's overdue at this point. And I think it'll be helpful in terms of making sure that it's a comprehensive suggestion. So instead of doing onesie twosies, let's talk about what he's going to do for this section of the district in terms of full studies that include bicycle safety, that include traffic calming, and that include city bikes and how they're deployed in the district.
Okay.
Okay.
Because my main concern is just dragging our feet.
No, understood.
Yeah, I'd like to make sure we can get these things out as fast as we can, because when we get them out, they are going to be subject to change and to evolution, regardless of how long we take to get it out. Like, no one's going to move immediately and do this stuff right away.
No, you're right. Well, I mean, I don't, think the threat is that they're going to move really fast on this. But at the same time, here's the thing. I'm almost afraid that they would surprise us and say, look at that. We gave you bike lanes, and all of a sudden we don't hear from them for another 7 months. So at the very least, we're going to table it. We're just going to table this until next month. So your item is there. We're going to table it, and hopefully we're going to get, the commissioner to come in and speak to you directly, so we can hopefully have a more holistic conversation.
Sure. I want to add one more thing, though. Sure. I'm not sure if everyone here knows, but the DOT has a specific part of the year where they accept plans for, new changes and augmentations to roads and stuff. And because there's a period of the year when they can't actually make those changes. And that period of the year is typically between December and March. So this is as good a time as any, arguably the ideal time to get things like this out there, because this is the time when we're confirmed to have the DOT's ear more than we ever will again in a year.
No, absolutely. And I don't intend to sit on this. So this is not going to be, we're going to sit on it for 6 months until they talk to you. So just table it until next month so we see what we're doing. We'll bring this back up and we'll see where we're going to move that at that point.
So yes, no objections. That works.
Okay. All right then. All right. Okay. So we have the street co-naming and we have the 2 trainings that we're going to have as voting items. Are there any other voting items for all the chairs here? Are there any other voting items that we're missing? Okay, hearing none.
I'm sorry, I had other meetings going on. I have 4 meetings back to back, and I'm sorry that I am late. But we spoke about the letter that we're supposed to bring to the board to vote on for the support for the that I had to take back to the committee because the committee did not vote on it. So last month they voted. This month they voted for the Medicaid. I think the letter is at the office. So I don't really have the language in front of me because I did talk about it, and then you asked me to take it back because the committee did not vote on it. So I brought it to the chair, to the committee, and then they voted it to support I can't say much on it because I don't want to represent the language of the letter because I don't have it with me. But then I did, and then they voted on it so that we can vote on it at the next meeting for support for that letter. It's to do with Medicaid and persons who are retiring and how everything has been changed for them. When it can, how it will be, the changes that are coming, that it will affect persons who are retiring. They just want a letter of support from the board.
Okay. All right, New York City, is it a letter of support or is it a resolution or what is that?
Who is at the board? Who is it Mia or Dante?
It's Dante, and I think they want a letter of support.
Okay. All right.
Talking about.
Okay. A couple of months ago, just to get some background, a couple of months ago at the board meeting, there was actually a resident who came and talked about there are changes that were proposed to the healthcare for retirees. So there's definitely a lot of concerns about that. So they were discussing that and they brought that to our Health and Social Services Committee, and they were looking for a letter of support saying that, was it we were for it or against the changes? I think it was we were against the changes, correct?
No, we were for it, but then you asked me if my committee did vote.
Is the letter saying that we're for the changes or against the changes?
For the change, I don't remember.
It has to do with the retiree benefits. They're changing.
Yeah, let me go into my email. Yeah, let me go in.
Yeah. But and ultimately they're looking for support in that, where they're saying the changes that they're making are detrimental to retirees. Ultimately, if I remember correctly. So the Health and Social Services Committee brought it the other month. I don't think they voted on it. They brought it back this month. They voted on it, and they're saying that the recommendation is for us to support and sign on to the letter. So, all right. I think, is there any objection to adding that to the agenda for it to be voted on? Is there any objection?
I have no objection. I just want to know what are we voting on?
Oh, it'll be listen, when you get this agenda, when you get the package, you will see the letter and you'll have an opportunity.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Yeah. If I may say something, I'm one of the people affected by it. I'm pretty familiar with that situation.
No, we've been here all night. Let's go, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. So okay. So we're gonna add that one as well. So let us now go into the agenda. So it's going to be call to order. Rule of conduct. Mr. District Manager, are there any presentations that we have scheduled for this month?
No.
Okay, no presentations. We said no SLA applications, so we don't need to do that. Wow. Then we go straight into public commentary.
There were some SLA applications at the meeting.
I thought that the chair had said that we were going to move those. Two people didn't go and one person still had to do, and there was no quorum, correct? Or something like that?
There was, so two are present, one was absent, but we did not have quorum.
Oh,
okay. And those we're going to move to January, correct? Or December?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and we're moving those. So there's no SLA applications for this month. All right, then we move to public comment. After public comment, we have acknowledgements. Okay, after the acknowledgements, then we are going to go into the business session. We'll have roll call. We will have approval of minutes. And I believe we have 2 months we have to do this month. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So we have September and October, I believe we have to approve. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. After the approval of minutes, we are going to have committee reports. After the committee reports, we will have the DM's report. All right, Madam Treasurer, you have a report for this month, right? You're gonna do the report for this month?
Yes.
Okay, Treasurer's report. You'll have the chair's report. And then we're going to have the voting session. We have 2 events. So we have the CPR training for 12/5. We have the fire safety for 12/17. We have the street co-naming for transportation. And we have the NYC medical retirees, or NYC retirees medical letter of support.
Is that okay? Cool.
Mr. Chair, may I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so it says that the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees, representing 250,000 union retirees, called on New York State Assembly to support A7 7866 and the State Senate to introduce legislation to protect health benefits for contribution of retired employees of public. So they're looking for us to support them.
Okay.
Okay, letter of support. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Dante, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to say you all may want to reconsider dropping the SLAs just because I know that the Public Safety Committee they're going to have their hands full with OCM, and considering it's a new process, people are going to have 1,000 questions.
They're gonna bottleneck too. You're totally right, Dante. They're gonna next month, in January, we're gonna end up trying to approve 6 applications at the same time.
Yeah, and I don't think it's fair to the applicants that actually showed up, even though there wasn't a quorum. That's not their fault. Like, if there's no reservations that came from the committee, I think that you all should consider at least the 2 that showed up, so the Public Safety Committee is not swamped.
I am fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that.
With putting the 2 of them on? Okay, well, here's the thing. The only reason why I hesitate to do that is we end up being the committee where all of a sudden now all the questions that didn't get asked end up getting asked during the public safety, during the meeting. That's the only reason why I hesitate. That's why it's easier when, as long as the Public Safety Committee has actually looked at it and you have a recommendation, the questions have been asked and answered, and they're just introducing themselves, and we don't have to necessarily go through everything else.
That's a fair point, Fred. That is a very fair point.
They did ask all those questions at the meeting, though. I was there and heard all that. They did get asked all those questions.
No, right, but Teresa, we have to, as an executive committee, pass it through without having been at that meeting. So we have to approve it rather than the SLA committee approving it. The Public Safety Committee, sorry.
Yeah,
you can listen to it on YouTube.
And I'm sure the board is going to want to, well, I mean, you could, if it gets done is the question, and that's probably not going to happen. And I can definitely understand. Here's the thing. The other piece of that is I don't want applications to suffer because the questions weren't asked or anything like that. It's easier to have it, make sure that it's been vetted and as appropriate by the committee, and there's a vote on there, and the exec can pass it on. Makes it go much faster that way.
Well, I'll leave it up to you all. I serve with pleasure.
Okay.
And I think, if I may speak, I think that if the person showed up, and then the questions that were presented to the person, whoever was at the meeting at the time, and this question were asked, and that person answered, and they were quite satisfied. The only thing is that they didn't have a quorum, so they could not vote on it. I think that they should still bring it forward, because it's not, as you said, it's not the person's fault. The person came, they answered the questions, and they were satisfied with the answers that they received from the person. So I don't think the person should be penalized.
No, but at the same time, I just want to make sure that there's a confidence in the system where it's like, just use, people aren't saying that this application moved by just to throw a name in there, because Fred said he heard that what they said and it was okay. So then all of a sudden it got before the general board.
If they have any questions at the meeting, but
that's the point. There's a lot of questions that those questions will get asked at the board meeting, and then we just don't have the time because it's a full agenda. We have
but that's just one. That's just one person. That's just one exception. It's because they didn't have a quorum.
But if there was no quorum, then the meeting was not legal. So you really can't take those questions into consideration.
Right. Well, to Fred's point, to Fred's point, we need to do everything incredibly carefully, unfortunately, like right now at the moment. And so, I mean, probably sending it back to committee is the safest thing to do. Unfortunately, the business of the board is being hampered at the moment.
Yeah, it's hard for us to have to do that to them, but that's I'm up for doing anything right. I really can't.
Understood. Thank you all.
It's not that we're not doing it the right way. It's the way that it appears.
Right.
Yeah. Appearances are everything.
Yes.
Okay. All right then. So I have for the voting items 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 voting items, including the letter of support for the New York City retirees. Okay. And then after that we have old business, well, unfinished business, and then we have new business, and then we adjourn.
Do we have
Mr. Chair, the person who is asking for that letter of support, do we have to contact her so she can be present to speak on behalf of what she's asking for?
You know what? Preferable. If we can have them come and actually they can be the presentation, so they could actually do instead of an SLA application, we'll have them present for a few minutes, just for a few minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
And NYC Retirees Medical?
Yes. So there'll be a presentation, NYC Retirees Medical.
Well, brief synopsis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, is there anything else missing from this agenda as I stated? Okay, hearing none. Well, hearing no objections or hearing no further items.
Treasury report is on there?
I'm sorry?
Treasury report?
Yeah, we've added the treasurer's report.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so as I hear no objections to any or any additional items to be added, is there any objection to adopting this agenda by common consent?
Some.
Well, no, is there any objection? Just say if you have an object. Otherwise, if I hear nothing, we're good.
What about that resolution that we tabled? Am I supposed to do that at the beginning? When do I do that?
It's under new business, so it can be taken up if we need to. I'm sorry, it's under unfinished business. It can be taken up from the table if necessary at that time.
So I have to bring it up, or it'll be on the agenda?
Well, it's unfinished business, so it can be taken from the table. It's not specifically brought up. If the board wants to act on it, they can do it, or it can stay on the table at that point. No, actually, that's not correct, because I think we tabled it until this month, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, no. So it's under unfinished business. So we'll just put that item on there. Was a board recommendation or was it a resolution?
It was a resolution.
Well, you said you handle it administratively, and I just want to either do that or I think it has to be brought up again.
It's being worked on administratively. So I mean, I'll put it there because it'll go on the agenda because we did table it till this month. So
Correct.
to make sure we're accountable, it'll be there. We can choose to dispose of it or leave it on the table at that point.
I just want to do it correctly. So it'll be in old business or
unfinished business. It'll be under unfinished business. There'll be that item. Correct. So item A and under unfinished business will be that, and we'll get the language for that.
What's the name of the motion? Because I got the wording. Oh,
we fixed that. I think Dante has it, right? Dante asked.
Yeah, Dante, you have. We'll fix that language. Just make the note that that'll be the item. Okay.
I got it.
You got it.
Yes, motion for community board to send a letter.
All right, I'm not. You got it.
A couple of there's a little language mistakes in there.
Yeah, just put it as a motion for request for information. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And we'll bring it.
I got it word for word, Miss Westerdahl. Don't worry.
All right. There was a few, a couple of small things that we fixed on it. Maybe.
That'll have to be done at the meeting because that wasn't what we did. So we'll take it up, and if there's any changes or anything that needs to be done, we'll do it.
It was okay.
Because you submitted it written.
Have the information.
So that's why I gotta go with what you had to written.
Talk about it, right?
Okay, we could change. All right, you could amend anything. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. So we have the agenda with so we'll make that an item A under unfinished business. There was no objection, correct, from the members of the exec?
No.
Okay, hearing no objection, it stands as adopted by common consent. All right, is there any other business for the executive committee to consider this time?
I don't know if I'll be out of place because I'm sure that now that you finish, you'll be doing old business and new business, right? And then closing. Is that what you're doing now?
Well,
Do you
no,
have
on the
anything
agenda,
more to-
well, we have other business. So is there other business? What did you need us to do?
No, I just wanted to say something concerning the executive and the board members. So I'm just wondering as to where you want me to.
Well, we're in other business, so go ahead. So we've done all our other stuff. So go ahead. You can.
Okay.
Say what you
All
need
right.
to say now.
Okay. So I am just pleading with the executive members, and I know there are other members who are not there. I'm gonna get a chance to do that because it really hurts my heart and it does something to my head when I'm sitting at the general meeting and then the executive members and board members are fighting each other on the floor. So when we meet as an executive, we are here. So we have an issue with whatever the chair is saying, whatever that is being done, and you need to deal with it right here because we are here and this is the platform to deal with it. This is a platform to ask questions. And if you disagree with the chair, please don't wait when we are sitting at the general board meeting and we have persons from all over and then you want to attack the chair and you want to attack this person and you want to attack another board member. It does not look good. And if that's the type of person I am or any of you are and you want to disrespect the chair and your fellow board members, then you don't belong on the board. I make no apologies in saying that. And then I think other board members who are not on the executive has to follow suit. We have to respect each other. And if we don't respect each other, none of the people in the community is going to respect us. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. No, thank you for that. And just very briefly to add on to that as well. The one thing we need to do, as much as we talk about respect, is we need to model it. We need to model it in the way we treat each other, in the way we talk to constituents, to residents, the way we speak to our board. So the only thing I ask you as the leadership of the board, we have the chairs here and we have the executive officers, is to make sure that we enforce that as the way we do business. So we are polite, we are courteous, we are attentive, we listen. I mean, and even in disagreement, we understand it's okay to disagree and not be disagreeable. So that's the only thing I would add on to that. Thank you very much, Second Vice Chair Leopold, for making that statement. And that's the spirit we want to continue as a board in terms of, we're going to sit here, have hard conversations and disagree, but we'll move on and we'll be able to move forward because everything we're doing is always in the interest of this district. And as long as we do that, we are going to be fine. Okay. All right.
May I ask a question? We did not have a meet and greet. We're supposed to have it in September, October, November. We didn't do it. Can we have our meet and greet in December?
We didn't do it this year.
That I will leave to, December is tough. December is tough. But you know what? Let me not say no to anything. That'll be a conversation. Let's bring it up with the district manager and see what what we can put together.
December's tough.
All right. In the new year, first thing in the new year, December is tough for third.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll look at January, then we have to have our meet and greet. Yeah, we have new people who came on, and then we don't know who they are, and so we have to do it. So most likely,
at this point, they're all new people.
And
they're all new people. They're grizzled veterans over here. Mr. Norville's fully grown a beard out. It's like, Okay. All right.
You have your treasurer on the floor, sir. Your treasurer have her hands up.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mina. Go ahead.
No, just quick question, comment for the agenda. Do we want to remind people about the community fair that we're going to have next year? Because I remember last year when we finally had the community fair, people were like, oh, no one reminded us. No one said anything. So I think maybe if we put that in old business or new business, every meeting, just to mention the date is, or.
And you know what, and you're absolutely correct. As we're, the year slips by so quickly. We are in November, and you're right. These are conversations we need to start now. So thank you very much for that point. And we'll have to start having that conversation in terms of what we need, the input we're going to need from all the committees, what we would like to try and do, what we're trying to bring in. And to that point, all the committee chairs, please make sure that's something that goes back to your committees. If there's ideas, thoughts, things you want to bring to bear, please let us know sooner rather than later so we can start the process of of figuring out budget-wise where monies exist, who we would need to ask, if there are other entities we can try and bring to bear for that as well. But thanks to Madam Treasurer for bringing that up. And absolutely, that's something I'll mention as part of the chairman's report. We're in season now. We're going to start having those conversations, and we want everybody to come back with those ideas. But thank you very much for that. Okay, is there any other business for us to discuss? Okay, hearing none, we have completed our agenda. So unless there's any objection, we can adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Okay.
Wow, Mr. Chair, your meeting finished at 8:55. Wow.
8:55.
This is wonderful. Wonderful.
Good job. Good night, everyone.
We're completed.
Thank you, Ms. Westerdahl. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Mr. Roberts, I would like to
Good night,
talk to
everybody.
you a few
Thanks for
minutes.
coming.
I'll try to reach out. Give me your place I can contact you.